Well, there's certainly a slippery slope, as there has been in the past. So we have examples in the past of people not considering specific groups as persons. But the slippery slope can be avoided by giving precise criteria for what is a person and what is not. Like one of the reasons why, so to use Peter's example, so slavery is wrong, because slaves are persons, have interest in not being enslaved. The reason why a master cannot kill his or her slave is that the slave is a person and has a right to life, has an interest in being alive. So these are quite a clear criteria. Slippery slope happen when the criteria are blurred, but I don't think my criteria are blurred. So having interests in something is the basis of the moral respect for that something. So a fetus, from the time is capable of suffering, has an interest in not experiencing suffering. So, and that's all the interest that matters. As soon as someone, a fetus, a newborn, an adult, is capable of valuing his or her own life, then has an interest in remaining alive, and that's a reason not to kill this being. I don't know at which point, to go back to what Joe's point, I don't know at which point this happens. It doesn't happen in the womb. It might be at some point after birth, I don't know. But the point is that the criterion is quite clear, so I don't see a danger of slippery slope.
I think it's difficult, I think it's unavoidable, and I think it's that there are areas where it is very blurred. I was reading some remarkable writing by Professor Peter Singer, who is very pro-choice, was making the point about when the concept of brain death was developed. And the concept of brain death being developed around the time we started to have an ability to do organ transplants and so on. I mean, it's a very interesting notion about how we deal with these things, and I have to say I am much more concerned about this blurriness at the end of life than I am at the beginning of life, because I think that you can say without a shadow of a doubt that the fetus in the womb does not yet have the capacities that I think about as being meaningful in life, because the physical framework isn't there for the brain to be switched on in that particular way, and we know that they only develop at some time after birth. But when it comes to these end-of-life things, all the coma stuff and so on, who knows what's going on in people's heads and so on, what they've lost and what they haven't. So I'm much more concerned about that than I am about this.
I'll save most of my comments for the very end. I'll simply point out you're absolutely right. To separate out humanity and personhood is dangerous. It does allow us to do things to human beings because they don't have certain actualized potentialities like consciousness or reason that otherwise we wouldn't be able to do. If you're going to say that to have an interest is to be self-aware and to want to value your life, again, if you don't have consciousness, you don't have interest. And if you don't have interest, you can do what you like to, by the same extension of the logic that we have to the human unborn child. So I'm afraid, yes, you're right, it's very dangerous, which is why it's subhumanist, and true humanism is say that no, personhood and humanity are coterminous. If you are a human being, you are a person by definition, because you have a rational nature, and therefore a personal nature. And that makes you a person.